Welcome everyone back. We are live on YouTube. Just type in Cleve and Me if you're looking for us. We have a lot of things to talk about today, including, as always, as we do for pay-per-views, our chamber predictions. There's many matches that we are going to be talking about overall, and not only are we going to be talking about the matches, we're going to be, getting a little bit of insight on the guys inside the portals. As we all know by now, we have one woman's, one man, and there's six in each. So there's a lot that could happen as we're on the road to WrestleMania. Also, we're going to have our damn report today as we have that now included in our mix, thanks to Mr. Tampa Tones, who I'll bring in a second. And Cleveland will be joining as well. We have a lot to talk about outside of the pay-per-views. Everyone who doesn't live under a rock knows about people like Cody Rhodes and his rumors and Stone Cold Steve Austin and his. But before we do any of that, without further ado, Tampa Tones, as always, thank you for joining us today and being a part of another great pay-per-view YouTube episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Per usual, I'm excited. We got a lot to talk about. Cleve's late as always. What else is new? That's just becoming a trend at this point. No, Cleve should be on the way soon, but always a blessing here in Cleve and Me land. You can follow me at Tampa Tones. Follow my pods at Bucketeers and Cracker Jack's pod. And as football takes a little bit of an off season, the Bucketeers stays. But hey, that just opens up wrestling viewership for me. Less film to watch, less film to break down, more wrestling to tune into. So as much as it sucks that it is football off season, it does increase my wrestling paying attention and my wrestling viewership. So in certain aspects, it's good for my wrestling knowledge and fandom, but in sports aspects, it's getting to become a dry spot. But as always, glad to be here talking, and I can't figure out the damn elimination chamber hashtag on Twitter where the chamber thing pops up. So I'm just gonna tweet.
I did it today. I think I struggle with it too. I would believe it's WWE Chamber.
Yep, it is WWE Chamber.
They do that a lot with, except for SmackDown, they all start with WWE, but for some reason SmackDown doesn't. Don't know.
Yeah,
why.
it's like, do you really? I thought it'd be Elimination Chamber, but nonetheless, at least they have those cool things. I always like, Bulls have Bulls Nation, Bucks have Go Bucks.
I agree.
I like how they do that with those pictures, but WWE, I get they want to know it's their chamber, but everybody knows it's the WWE's. You might as well just have made it Elimination Chamber, in my opinion.
No, I mean, I agree with that as I searched for a couple things before finding it. And I mean, the chamber alone is going to be one thing, like I said, we're going to be talking about once we get Cleve in here, as he is like a Lakers fan going to a game, just straggling in a little bit behind the time, but that's okay, because we got plenty to talk about before that, and we're going to get right into it, Mr. Tones, and that's Cody Rhodes. By now, like I said, we all know, and if you don't, and if this is breaking news, well, here you go. Cody Rhodes and the AEW have mutually parted ways in a respectful manner, at least in the public eye, sending out statements from both the company and himself saying how much, they greatly appreciate each other for everything they do. And at the end of the day, yes, Cleveland. I mean, I sent it to the same email the whole time as he emails me, and Tone sent it to this email. Now he's just going to have to wait a few minutes. That's just how it is. Tones, though, while I do that, give us your thoughts before we let Cleveland in here on Cody Rhodes and how much of a shock it is to you that it happened, and what you think ultimately his next move would be.
Yeah, I mean, it's very shocking, right? And you slice the cake any way you want it. To a fan, to a podcaster of wrestling, it is a bit shocking. But you kind of go back the past year or so and you puzzle some pieces together, and it kind of arises to maybe not as shocking as it appears at the surface, right? There's been reports that have said Cody Rhodes, they expected him to leave by this fall. A couple of the big prominent wrestling reporters have came out and said that. And it's not like they just said that yesterday and today after he was released. They've been saying this for the past month or so. A lot of people didn't want to believe it because Cody Rhodes is and was AEW. So people took it with a grain of salt. But at the end of the day, those reports ended up coming true. And also, Cody Rhodes was wrestling as a free agent. Not a lot of people took that into consideration, but at the end of the day, he was pretty much wrestling on a basis to basis appearance in terms of payday. He wasn't technically under contract of AEW as a vice president. So that was a red flag as well. Him and Brandy continue to try and grow their family as well. So it's obvious that Cody prefers to stay in the backstage of things. And let's be honest as well, it's not like he was a very warm welcome in the latter half of his career in AEW either. A lot of fans would boo him at times, perhaps, and treat him unfairly, in my opinion, very poorly. As much as he did for the company of AEW. But you kind of go back and picture and puzzle these things together, and you kind of scratch your head and goes, I can make sense of this. And it's still shocking to me. Like I said, it was shocking to me. But if you go back and try and play detective now with the pieces that we have, you could make a case that it makes sense. Now, the thing is, there's only been one source that I've seen that said this still might be a work. Every other source, whether it's been Meltzer, Sean Ross, etc., Shepard, you name him, they've all pretty much said this isn't a work, blah, blah, blah. There's one mini source that did say this is a work. If it is a work, it's the best work job in the history of wrestling. I firmly don't believe it is a work, but if it is a work, they have everyone fooled, including their own roster, including other companies that have reached out to Cody Rhodes already. I mean, we have reports that have said he's going to WWE already. We've had, that one mini report that said it could very much be a work. We've had other reports that said he might go to NJ PW because he has good friends and roots over there. So we don't know what to believe. All I know is this: whoever ends up with Cody Rhodes, they're getting a better human being than they are a wrestler. He's a fantastic person. He will do nothing but good for that promotion, as he did with the WWE, as his father did with the WWE, as his brother did with the WWE. Now, as Cody and Goldust have done with AEW, it's all been a success in my book. Nobody could tell me otherwise. That they're not a fan of Cody Rhodes. And I know, not everyone could be a fan of every single wrestler. I get that. I really do. But to not be a fan of Cody Rhodes as a person is really dumbfounding to me. And I'd honestly be a little concerned for that person if they did have a problem with Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, number one, always been a Cody Rhodes fan over the years. He did a lot of good things for AEW. He had a lot of big moments ever since it was the first pay-per-view where, he took out the sledgehammer and took it to the, what was known as the Triple H chair. If it was his dog collar match versus Rest in Peace, John Huber, if it was, champion holding the championship title for a while, being part of the creative, he did a lot for AEW. And, it was kind of shocking to me, only mostly because, he was taking the routes of like I kind of call it the Miz path, where you got kind of a show, your TV reality. You got the good-looking wife who also is involved, but at the same time, he's still not that old. I thought he would, at least stick it out with AEW. But as we hear, it seems like if it is not a work, which we believe it is not, that the control kind of was lost, and ever since they grown, they have a lot more contracts to deal with and stuff, and those type of things can get in the way. But that being said, A+ for Cody Rhodes in the business, and A+ for all his efforts on and away from the ring. If I had to make a prediction before we invite Cleveland in here and get his thoughts on Cody Rhodes in AEW and what he think he will do, I think. Man, people are rushing saying like this WrestleMania, if he does go to WWE, people are saying AEW in a few weeks. To me, there's going to be some time off here. I don't know if he's going to join WWE for certain, but I will say I think no matter what happens, there's going to be a few months off. I don't think it will be a quick move like many are reporting online, and that's just my true gut feel. But as for a company, I'm not going to jump into any and say I would love it to be WWE. I would love that. I think Vince McMahon realizes, Cody did big things, took big strides on his own, and that he's worthy now to, not be in that mid card. But that's just my thought. Cleveland, welcome, my friend. You are finally here. How are we doing? And what is your thought on Cody Rhodes and his future?
I'm doing pretty good. No Mike tonight. Mike's acting crazy, so haven't did this in a while without a mic.
You're good.
The Cody Rhodes story's been a hot topic all week since the news first broke that him and AEW part ways. I know a lot of people are excited. Some people aren't excited. I'm sort of in the middle at the moment here. Especially with all these reports, especially what you guys been sending through the group chat about possible rumors and stuff with Cody Rhodes, issues with maybe his role and money. My only thing with the whole situation is just 2 years ago, Cody Rhodes was bashing WWE, saying, there's not real wrestling over there. Real wrestling is in AEW, and then no, 2 years later, he's coming potentially back to the WWE. So I just think that's just a bad look. I don't think a lot of fans
Well,
will.
and real quick, I want you to continue at the same time. You know, Vince McMahon probably had some. We're not going to get him publicly, but he definitely had his thoughts on Cody Rhodes, and hey, maybe they just make amends, and that's how it is. But you are right on Cody Rhodes definitely having some public comments. But then again, when anybody leaves the WWE, is who they think is a bigger star. Sometimes salt lies in the wound, and then they try to make a fresh bang and start. Prime example, CM Punk, how he did at AEW. But go on, Cleveland.
But however, I will say this could be sort of the Christian situation where Christian went away to Impact, became a main event guy. Cody Rhodes was a main event guy, it seems, in AEW. So I don't see him going back to the middle card if he does return. So this is something curious to see. But that was just my thought on it. Is just 2 years ago he hated WWE and now he's back. So
Yeah, and nothing is for certain. There's definitely a decent amount of good, reporters that we all follow that are saying WWE is a realistic option, that things could happen fast. The contract's been out there. I guess we'll kind of wrap it up with, and say this. How do you, I'll start with you, Tones. How do you think, that conversation, if it were to happen between Vince McMahon and Cody Rhodes, who even picks up the phone and calls who first? I'm just interested. That's what I'm most interested in. If WWE is a legitimate option, and there has been talks, have these been directly between Vince and Cody, their agents, what have you? I don't know. Think anything of that, or what is that interest you at all?
Well, at this point in Cody Rhodes' career, he's very credible. He doesn't need an agent for negotiations and whatnot. So I'm sure that Vince or whatever WWE executive might have reached out to Cody. I'm not quite sure that Cody would reach out to WWE first. And we've known Vince to be the guy who has seen big-eyed talent, big-eyed prizes out there, and he goes and gets him. He creates his fish hook, he throws it in the water, and he hopes that the fish eventually bites. And I think this is one of those scenarios. I think that, as I said, for weeks now, people have been circulating rumors, and now it comes to fruition. Vince is obviously not a dummy in the industry. He definitely has good sources for sure. So Vince knew this probably more than we did, that Cody would be becoming a free agent, and I'm sure that Vince was doing his homework, and I'm sure that Vince has reached out to Cody right away on his potential return to WWE. And I will say this, not sure how true this is, but I read not too long ago that Justin Barroso of Sports Illustrated reported that if Cody signs with WWE, Cody could begin filming vignettes for his WWE return as soon as this weekend, which pretty much means they would have him for WrestleMania. Now, take that however you want it, but it seems like to me, based on the reports, based on the smoke coming out right now, usually where there's smoke, there is fire. Feels like if he goes to WWE, they're going to sign him. He may be in a couple big matches right off the bat. Then he kind of fades into more of a leadership role, behind the scenes role, perhaps more so, and creators, directors role. And he's still going to have his sporadic appearances. But it seems like to me, he's over the days of being the man who has to wrestle 365 days a year.
Yeah, and no doubt he definitely likes the role more in upper management. And I mean, that being said, he still puts on a bunch of great matches, but just where he's at is his life with TV shows and whatnot. I think it is safe to say Cody Rhodes, has his path to choose, no matter what it may be. And, just interesting. We got three great minds here of wrestling. We all have a little different vibe on where it may go. And again, they're all rumors. None of us are, a foot ahead of the other. We're all just, from our thoughts, thinking what we read and we see. And it's going to be very interesting to end up where it happens, because we'll be talking about it as us three will be on a lot in the near future. That was one guy and one rumor and one great talent. We're going to go to another man, a greater talent and more WWE based, and that is Stone Cold Steve Austin. All of a sudden, it's funny to me. I'm watching Monday Night Raw, and Kevin Owens all of a sudden is talking crap about Dallas. I'm like, that was just random. I'm like, I all of a sudden out of nowhere, he's just, coming at Dallas, and I get he's a good heel and all that, but he was more in a storyline. And then the next day, literally start reading about Stone Cold, and how he's going to play a role in Mania, and how it could even continue past Mania. And they're not going to confirm it. I hope they do leave it as an open book, because that would be the best way to go, at least until, he would show up on Monday Night Raw if it is Kevin Owens. But I like to have the people guessing. Cleveland, I'm going to start with you on this one. Number one, was that news more or less shocking than the Cody Rhodes news? And number two, do you like it?
The news of Austin returning,
Potentially returning
for a match or an appearance, or
that's up to you. I mean, whatever you think, what it should be. I mean, it's just all speculation at this point.
I think it'd be dope to see Austin host. I think he's past the day of trying to get back in the ring. It's been so long since Austin had an official match, so I can see him hosting WrestleMania. I don't think that's as big of a news as Cody Rhodes, but it is something to look forward to. Is seeing Stone Cold all over WrestleMania 2 nights. That'll be dope to see.
Yeah, and before I get tones up, my quick thing on it is this. It has been a while, but I think nobody truly, and I read a report, he bought a ring about a year ago, and it's been in his one of his residencies. And he's 57, but nobody knows truly where he's at and how good of ring talent he could be. Nobody's in his house 24/7. So I do think it's going to be a match, and I do think it's going to be I'm not talking no 30-minute match. I'm talking about a fun 10 minutes with Kevin Owens, where they'll probably have a better lead in with the stories they share on the way, and have some great promos, and then about a 10-minute match at Mania. And I think that is more shocking almost than the Cody Rhodes news, because for so long, if guys came back, it was The Rock we hear about, Batista, Cena, Undertaker, all these other guys. Not really do you hear much Stone Cold. He was kind of doing his own thing as well. Tones, your thoughts on if more shocking, less shocking than Cody Rhodes news, and what you think will happen with him in the business?
Yeah, it's been 17 years that the WWE has been trying to convince Stone Cold Steve Austin to come back and wrestle a match. Now, my thing is this. We've seen him be offered $3 million to appear at Saudi Arabia before he declined that. So if he does come back and compete in a match, I don't see it being a one-off, because the opportunity would be there for him to gather so much money in a stint. And if he's been training this long and whatnot, I just see more out of the storyline. Now, the only way I see this being a one-off, if it's a legit match, is if he still could barely move, if he's still hobbled, if he's physically unable to perform like they think. Then if it's him versus Kevin Owens, he'll probably get a 3-second match where Stone Cold stuns him and it's over. And that's the way it could be a one-off. But to me, if Stone Cold comes back and it's a legit match, there's just no way it's only going to be for one match. I'm still one of those guys who are a little skeptical in terms of I'll believe it when I see it for this sort of subject in terms of him performing in the ring. But I will say this: if we see a legit match out of him, and by legit I mean by over 8 to 10 minutes, not 5 minutes and under, Goldberg style, not those old poker styles. If we see a legitimate match out of Stone Cold Steve Austin, it will not be a one-off. He'll have a longer storyline than Mania. You could get a SummerSlam appearance. You could get the next Saudi Arabia appearance, and by that time it'll almost be Mania again. So yeah, if he wrestles and it's a legit match, he's going to be around for a while.
Yeah, and I mean that is again, as always, the rumors. We hit a hard rumor mill this week, but anything's possible. Long run, short match, long match, one match, no match, whatever it may be. We're getting more Stone Cold, and I can guarantee we all can agree on one thing: when we hear the glass break and that Stone Cold theme comes on, the first time he comes out, if it is to get at Kevin Owens for talking crap on Dallas, that will be one of the most electric scenes we might have seen in a while in the business itself. As you
I
know,
love that match as long as it's not a squash match. I pray to God that if it's a
and I
squash,
don't think it would be.
I like it
if
better if my bad sounds. I like it better if KO goes over instead of Austin. I think it would be nice for Austin, but you don't want KO to lose to a 57-year-old guy. No disrespect to Stone Cold, but this isn't the '90s Austin. So
Right. Go ahead, Tones.
no, I agree with what Cleve just said, and I'm just saying, KO did just sign again with WWE, so the last thing they probably want to do is piss the guy off who they have under contract for a while. And a good way. I mean, I'm sure as hell KO would love to have a moment with Stone Cold. But I read another interesting quote as well on Stone Cold before we move topics here.
Go ahead.
He said the number one guy he'd like to face in a match is Brock Lesnar. So that also tells me that there's more to the story than just one match if he does, because it's pretty clear and evident at this point that he would not face Brock Lesnar at this Mania and that he would face Kevin Owens. But with that being said, it leaves the opportunity open, like I was saying, for a lot more Stone Cold Steve Austin appearances. And at $3 million for a show, could you blame him?
Well, and if it did happen, give me 1 beer, what? 2 beer, what? 3 beer, what? I'll go the whole damn thing. Take me to the show, what? To the ring, what? To the next. Everybody would. It would be. Oh man, I don't want to use the word electrifying because that's more of a rock thing, but it would be that level. And the Rock rumor, we have one. Maybe we'll share at the end. We don't have enough time for that right now. Not a rumor, a tweet he actually made. We've talked so much this and about two big figures. I mean, you're talking about the guy who helped start AEW, and you're talking about the guy who, took the WWE. He wasn't really in the WWE, but he took it all to another level in the mid 90s to early 2000s. So it's definitely worth talking about since there's legs to both stories and where they might go. That being said, we will get to the chamber predictions. And by the way, it's at Saturday at noon Eastern time, 11 Central. So it is a weekend. It's a Saturday. I'm personally a fan of that. I'll be going home actually to where Tones is located. And we'll be watching that right when it starts through the finish. But before that, we are going to get to Mr. Tones's damn report of the evening.
Yeah, and for those unfamiliar, it was formerly the MASH report, but now we're naming it the Damn Report in honor of good buddy Ron Simmons. So we do appreciate that, and we look forward to bringing you the MASH report. Or
Damn.
The Damn Report from here on out. Joey, I didn't have the damn tuned up. I got to find a good damn to play at the beginning of the Damn Report.
Hey, it's just getting started.
Moving forward, we'll have good ones. These are like minute-long YouTubes. I don't have time to fish around and hope that a good damn moment comes up. So I'll say myself, it's now time for the Damn Report for this week in wrestling. It's reported on Fightful Select, according to Sean Ross Sapp, the duo of Violence is Forever are working tonight's AEW takings. Thanks to AEW Young Bucks for the picture. The Young Bucks posted a picture, and in the picture appears the duo of Violence is Forever. Per Justin Barroso, as I said before, Sports Illustrated, Cody Rhodes could begin filming vignettes for his WWE return as soon as this weekend. That's if he does sign with the WWE, but it's interesting enough that Sports Illustrated is taking the story and running with it. Bianca Belair has revealed what John Cena told her after her quick loss at SummerSlam. If you remember, some people were perhaps mad about that, but John Cena had words for Bianca Belair, and she said, I really got to talk with John Cena a lot after the 26-second moment at SummerSlam. He really just gave me a lot of great advice and keep the right perspectives of everything. Basically, the gist of what he said was moments like this you can really use to propel you. You see how much the fans really get behind you. For me, out of that, I was able to look at the longer picture, the bigger picture, and hopefully one day it'll come back full circle. Who knows? Yes, Bianca, we all know the wrestling industry works that way. I am glad John Cena was able to help you understand that, as well as it is very important that you know that you are a big piece of the WWE and you'll get your cake again. Nobody from the WWE reached out to Ric Flair following his recent divorce. That was sad to see. Poor Ric Flair was down in the dumps about that. We'll bring up his name later in another report. In case you missed it, Impact comes to Philadelphia for a 2 night series. So they're yet to reveal how they're going to put that on TV, but they will be in Philadelphia for 2 nights in a row. Impact will be. That'll be interesting to see how that shakes. What a way to go out. As you guys know, the Hardys are reuniting. They are back together. Their first match back together is against Big Cass and Enzo Amore, now known as Kaz XL and Enzo. It's against the Hardys. Tickets go on sale this Friday, and that is the Major Bros. It's called. That match is called the Major Bros. Interesting to see that promotion and what comes out of that. Warner Bros. And John Cena are staying in business with each other as Cena is set to star in Warner Bros. Looney Tunes animated hybrid pick Coyote vs. Acme. So John Cena, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, continues to make names for himself performing in a Warner Bros. Film. That's pretty damn cool. Ric Flair isn't happy with the WWE after nobody from the WWE reaches out following his divorce. Ric Flair says the most insensitive company in the world is the WWE. So, at once great friends, Rick and Vince seemingly have fallen out of love. It'll be interesting to see where those two legends continue to stand as time goes on. A former WWE referee has made his AEW debut. Former NXT referee Stefan Smith appears on AEW Dark as a referee. Interesting to see their referees changing hands. WWE was ready with the custom title for the Rams. It's been seen in pictures at today's parade, especially. WWE is known for making championship belts for whoever wins championships in major sports. They have made one for the Rams, and it was on show today at the Rams parade in Los Angeles. The Rams had one hell of a time. Not as good as a time as Tom Brady and the Bucks did last year, but they put that WWE championship on display. Canucks coach Bruce Boudreau is a massive WWE fan, and he lists his top superstars, some of his favorites of all time. He lists Kevin Owens, Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Rock as part of his favorites. There's reports tonight set from Sliced Wrestling that there will be grain of salt tonight, and it's going to get ugly, whatever that means. Of course, AEW's tonight, grain of salt. It's going to get ugly. We'll see what that means. Cody Rhodes obviously just departed, but AEW tonight is surely something to keep an eye on. Mero got signed to WWE in spite of a torn ACL, according to him, because God protected him. Mero had nothing good but good things to say about the WWE in his most recent interview. WWE announces an interesting stipulation for the Elimination Chamber match, including Ronda Rousey and Naomi. Ronda Rousey will now have to compete with one arm tied behind her back. To me, that's a little whack, but I get it, so we'll see how that plays out. Dave Meltzer says the Hershey SmackDown on the 25th, in anticipation of Cody Rhodes, has a very good chance of selling out as soon as tomorrow. That's pretty interesting. It seems like a lot of fans are anticipating Cody Rhodes' return to WWE sooner than later. AEW's Jack Atlas undergoes surgery for torn ACL. Well wishes to you, my friend. NXT Vengeance Day sees a boost in viewership on Sci-Fi. It was reported that 125,000 more viewers appeared on yesterday's episode of NXT before the week prior. So obviously that Valentine's Vengeance was a big success. The latest Elimination Chamber men's match odds have eyebrows raised, as it has certain people as the favorites that a lot of people wouldn't think. According to some, Seth Rollins has emerged as a favorite in terms of betting for the men's Elimination Chamber match. A former Major League Wrestling tag team is reportedly in town for AEW Dynamite tonight. We'll see who that might be. Tegan Knox tested positive for COVID before WWE release. Didn't feel like she fit the WWE demographic. It sounds like another star is exiting the WWE for AEW. It sounds like Buddy Murphy may debut on AEW as soon as tonight. John Cena's Peacemaker is renewed for season 2. So John Cena.
Good show. I watch it.
He continues to stay in the loop. Yeah, my brother and Myron watched it. A lot of people say it's a good show. I might have to try and get into it. I'm not a big TV guy.
It's different.
It'll be hard for me to do. Time to level up. WWE 205 Live is officially canceled. This one's sad to me as I'm a fan of the cruiserweight division, but it's been a long time coming. If people have been paying attention to 205 Live lately, they've had females competing on it. They've had people over the weight of 205 Live competing on it that have said, we need change coming. A new NXT B show is set for Peacock debut in the imminent future, per Mike Johnson of PW Insider. 205 Live has been canceled in anticipation for NXT Level Up, NXT's own B show. The first episode of NXT Level Up was taped prior to this week's special Vengeance Say edition of NXT 2.0 on Sci-Fi, so be on the lookout for that in the near future. AJ Lee, the wife of CM Punk, says wrestling opportunities have popped up. Isn't sure if there is fire to the smoke or if she could still physically do it. I'd enjoy watching you do your damn thing, AJ. That's just me. Sean Ross Sapp reports Adam Pearce, Sonya Deville, Shane McMahon, and Stephanie McMahon are the selectable GMs in WWE 2K22 GM mode. Interesting that they're opting to leave Shane in the game, fueling further rumors that he may not be released as anticipated. Cage Side Seats reports another Austin level surprise is set for WrestleMania 13. Rumors have it such as The Undertaker or Ric Flair. After the latest Ric Flair news, I doubt it's him, but rumors had it that The Undertaker or Ric Flair were set to report at WrestleMania. Now it might be looking like The Undertaker, but there's help on the way for a big report there. Jake Roberts recalls Stu Hart making Bret Hart bleed from multiple punctures. That just sounds painful there. Pat McAfee said that that must be awesome on people's Mount Rushmore of wrestling to Brock Lesnar, saying Lesnar would be on people's lists. Brock's reply to Pat McAfee, I don't really care or give a shit. Pretty blunt there on Brock Lesnar, indication that he's all about the money. AEW launches a concert, and the concert is going to be interesting. It's going to be all of the theme songs from AEW superstars at their very own AEW concert. That's very interesting. Nikki Bella addresses possible full-time return to WWE, saying, unfortunately, we are in our back lives. Brie and I can never be back full-time. We hope there's something sooner in the future that we can come back and do something. Aubrey Edwards, referee in AEW, tweets the new art of the AEW travel trucks. We know WWE made those famous. AEW does the same thing now. Cody Rhodes has already been taken off of those AEW travel trucks, further fueling fire that he is really done with AEW. Jessica Rowe Clark will walk out to HBK's music if she is put on a pay-per-view. She's a UFC fighter, says she will pay tribute to the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, if she ever cracks Dana White's biggest stage of them all. More Ric Flair news. Ric Flair.
All right, we got to be done with Ric Flair. I'm sick of hearing about Ric Flair.
Well, sorry. This ain't your report, but damn.
Damn, let's get through it.
Entering the metaverse courtesy of Imagine R. That's interesting. Vince McMahon docuseries to address his childhood in the trailer park where he grew up. I never knew Vince grew up in a trailer park. And last but not least, before Joe had his hothead jackass moment just a minute ago, tried to interrupt me
Ric
like a rude
Flair.
son of a bitch, I put in my heart and soul to this report my damn
Well, I
research.
told you I'm
I'm
sick of Ric Flair. It is what it
literally on my
is.
last tweet, and he's about to freaking cut me off like a jackass. But anyways, WrestlingInc.com, damn it, says on this day in WWE history, Bret Hart defeated Steve Austin. It's Vader time and The Undertaker to win the vacant WWF World Heavyweight Championship. That's this day in history. And that's a damn report brought to you by the Buccaneers for your latest news.
Damn.
Tag them with Buccaneers at Spotify today, Buccaneers Podcast.
And thank you very much for that report. I'm just, Ric Flair, he's about as old as us. He's gone to me. I don't care to ever hear anything about him again. Charlotte is cool with me. I'm just over Ric Flair. And
that's not what you said in my office a couple months
back. Sealed the deal on me after the damn report. So my new thought on him is don't need to hear about him ever again. Thank you for the damn report, as we are going to get to our chamber predictions now here. And really quickly before we do that, Cleveland, there was so much news that Tones brought out. Any interesting tidbits that caught your eye before we move on? It's a lot to choose from.
It is, I will say I'm very excited for the WWE General Manager mode. I haven't played that in a very long time.
Did you get the game?
No, it's coming out in March. I'm about to pre-order it soon. So,
who would you pick if you were to be the first mode to do GM mode? Which of those choices would you pick?
Oh, I'm going Shane McMahon.
Wow!
I mean, that's the most likable out of the four in there.
I would go Stephanie.
I'd go Sonya.
My thing from a lot of Tones, I had a few of them. I should have wrote them down. Number one, Vengeance. Valentine's Day last night for NXT was awesome. There was a great cage weapons match, which was cool with Pete Dunne. Also mentioned in that report is now I got Ric Flair stuck in the back of my head. Maybe now he'll haunt me forever. I think that's what's going to actually happen.
Cena was mentioned just as many times. Don't be biased.
Oh, there we go. Actual news. Just not favoritism. Well, hold on. No, Ric Flair just crabby comments. Like, nobody cares you got divorced. You cheated on your wife back in the day. You were terrible in WWE. It was proven on the show. Nobody has sympathy for you. Nobody has sympathy, though, for him. And John Cena is one of the most given back people in the world. And with just saying, John Cena is more popular and he's more giving to the kids, and he's a lot better for the humanity. Ric Flair gave a lot of down low whoops out of his pants to the WWE industry. But that being said, Peacemaker, I did want to say, because John Cena, actually pretty good looking dude. Ric Flair just kind of snuck his way in. But anyways, that's a whole other show. The Peacemaker show is great. It is a little bit different, but I do enjoy that, as it's been getting a lot of popularity, and it's that's why it's renewed for greatness. So let's get to our chamber predictions, though. As that being said, Cleveland, I'm going to start with you here. We're going to get right into what I think could be probably the opener. I could either see this is the pre-show match or the first one we get. Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss in a Falls Count Anywhere match. I know you're not a Madcap Moss guy, so is this No Falls Anywhere going to be a quick one?
I don't think it'll be a quick one, but I definitely think this should just be an opener just to sort of get it out of the way. The only thing that might save this match is being a Falls Count Anywhere. If it was just a regular single match, this would be pre-show material. So this will probably be an opener match.
Hopefully. Who wins?
Oh, Drew McIntyre. There's no way Drew McIntyre loses on the road to WrestleMania.
I agree. I'll keep it at that. Tones, what do you think? Any different?
No, I don't think they'd give Madcap this win, although I think it could be a decent match, as it is a Falls Count Anywhere, and that means Baron Corbin could get involved with this said match. So I think that it's going to be a better match than what people think and anticipate, perhaps. But as Cleve said, on the road to Mania, unless they have no plans for McIntyre and they just view him as facing Corbin or Madcap, or perhaps a 2-on-1 handicap against Corbin and Madcap at WrestleMania. I don't see any way of McIntyre losing, unless the storyline's to be continued.
Yeah, and I think they'll do a great job of putting on a fun match. I remember back in the day, Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns, they put on a great, Falls Count Anywhere, I believe. That actually might have been in Houston Astros Stadium or somewhere like that, but it was just that was Baron Corbin and Roman Reigns at that stadium. But Drew McIntyre has done great in his past with stipulation matches, and Madcap Moss. Show us something here. Show us that you can eventually get out from that scene of being behind Baron Corbin. I think it'll be interesting to see, how long that match is and how good of performance Madcap puts on. Let's go to, we'll save the chamber matches for a little bit coming up. Tones, you did mention this, how Rousey and Naomi are teaming up versus Flair and DeVille. You mentioned how Rousey's, I assume this is coming from DeVille or management. Did you say one arm is going to be tied behind her?
Right, one arm will be tied behind her back in the match. And I'm not a fan of that, to be honest.
If that is the case and stays that way,
wait, is this the tag team match?
It's a 2-on-2. Charlotte and Sonya versus Ronda and Naomi.
And it wouldn't even make sense if the reasoning is, oh, well, Ronda was in the UFC. Well, Sonya Deville was in MMA as well. So, that credibility of the reasoning. I know Rousey more fared for sure, but, I just, I don't see as that adding excitement to the match. I don't see how Ronda, I'd rather have freaking her head spun around or some crazy crap. You could think of a couple. Yeah, you could think of a couple things.
And I agree too, because it's not like she's just going against anybody. She's going against Charlotte and Sonya Deville. Charlotte alone is a lot to handle with two hands. So one arm tied behind the back. We giving predictions. I see Charlotte and Sonya winning this one. Naomi takes the pinfall.
Yeah, and I see this as more of a punt. Maybe the best way to play it off to me, I don't know if they are going to. We still have a SmackDown left. As they taped it last week and had to do some editing and some things leak out, which has from all there's me and Tones have actually got the honor of attending 2 shows pre-taped, one for AEW, one for WWE. You just got jerks out there who leak some things, but that not anybody here. We're all better than that. I hope they do it as a punishment. Hey Ronda, you're Naomi, you've been messing with the GM, Sonya, you've been doing all these things. Here's your punishment, one arm tied. Do I think it's that cool? Well, I think it'd be more fun that way. No. My prediction on the match, I think Ronda and Naomi get the win because I don't think Naomi's going to get a win coming up in a singles match that soon. So I think her chance right here is to win it with the one-arm Ronda Rousey and just shock Sonya Deville and Charlotte, who have been a thorn in the side of many women lately. Tones, I know you said a lot in the match, but your prediction?
I think that Rousey ends up pinning DeVille in the match. I don't think that Charlotte would take the pin in the match, but I think Rousey, they're going to continue to hype her and build her up on the road to Mania, kind of like Cleve said earlier about whoever Drew McIntyre. I think the same way for Rousey.
And as we take you all the way up to the top of the hour where AEW is starting, I will for sure be watching. I mean, as always, even though the host of this show, they deserve their kudos. Tones and Cleve, as always, thank you for your time as we get through these predictions, and we're on our way, as we also are going to have a special guest in the next couple of weeks, but we'll save that for later. Let's do it. The Usos, Jay and Jimmy, for the tag team champions versus the Viking Raiders. This is for the SmackDown titles. I think the Usos hold on, as I think they keep holding on as long as Roman Reigns does, and I don't see Roman Reigns. I'm just saying I don't see him losing this weekend. We'll get to that match next. So I think both move on, but we're starting with here, and I think the Usos win. Tones, how about you?
Yeah, I think the Usos win this one as well. I think the Viking Raiders are just a speed bump in the road for them, and I think that the biggest tag team matches and the best of tag team matches at WrestleMania would be with the Usos in them. And that means that they're not going to lose their belts this late in the game, as This is the first year, I believe, where the Chamber is the last stop to Mania. Maybe last year, perhaps, but it's a newer thing where the Chamber is the last stop to Mania. So some people forget that usually you get your fast lane or you're over the limit, and you got your things that could be last minute shakeups there. Not so much. Now it's just this, and then you got a bunch of Raws, NXTs, and SmackDowns from here on out. So I think the Usos win rather easily, and I think they carry the titles into some interesting speculation at WrestleMania.
So Tones, you ain't going with the war.
No,
War.
they're cool dudes, but
They are.
they're just.
Oh, that's like the third tour to me. One of the Viking Raiders. We'll try to tie that up. Cleve, clean sweep.
Go in the opposite direction.
No,
I like the Viking Raiders. I think they have one of the coolest finishers, tag team finishers in the business. Honestly, it's pretty cool to see. And new blood on the tag team scene wouldn't be bad. I mean, if who's next after the Viking Raiders on SmackDown that could possibly? We don't want to see New Day. No, I'm tired of seeing New Day versus you. So
what about the Luchadores?
I'm glad they're getting TV time, but I don't think they're WrestleMania opponent type worthy. Hopefully, I mean, because usually, let's be honest, the tag team titles usually don't make it onto the main card sometimes. So that's another real question. Even if like the Usos win, will they be on the main card at Mania?
Couple years back, the pre-show was Zack Ryder and Brian Myers defending the tag team championships against other tag teams. I think that when it comes to tag teams at Mania, you got to get creative and make them ladder matches or triple threat matches or things like that.
No, I definitely think, especially with WrestleMania, there's been so many pay-per-views that were built in there, like the Money in the Bank is one of them became his own. They can get back to that. I would probably do it. I think I would probably do a ladder match for the USA or the IC title, but I would also like it for the tag team or get a few tag teams. And as Tone mentioned, either way, you can get a nice shake up there. So interesting, Cleveland. You did not go with the sweep on us. Now, Roman Reigns fights Goldberg. I already gave my early preview thinking the Usos and Roman Reigns move on as one. Tone, since you agreed with me on that, are you going in that same direction where Roman Reigns, spear versus spear, beats out Goldberg?
Yeah, I just don't really see a scenario of Goldberg, winning this match unless they have some crazy ass storyline in line where Goldberg wins and then him against Lesnar. But we've all seen that way too many times before, and at this point, I think we're better off seeing other matches and whatnot. So I think Roman Reigns does win, and I think Goldberg and him just spare the hell out of each other. And next thing you know, in about 5 to 8 minutes, we got a spare fest that results in Roman Reigns retaining.
Yeah, and I know this will disappoint Cleveland to hear for the millionth time on this show, especially the first 6 months we were doing it, is you never know, as Bray Wyatt did lose as the Fiend to Goldberg, but Roman Reigns is more over than that. So that's why I don't think that's a possibility. But Cleveland, are you going to go with the clean sweep this time?
I'm going with the clean sweep just in case, because man, like you mentioned the Bray Wyatt situation, I don't think anyone really expect Goldberg to win in the fashion he won. So, and the spear versus spear is so stupid. It's so stupid. I just can't wait for this match to be over.
Well, I think I don't care for it as much because a lot of people do the spear. Lashley, Edge. I mean, it's not like just them two do it. I don't mind it if it was just two people, but I agree with you because so many people do it. Now, I do want to ask you guys, starting with you, Cleve, is there any chance of a Brock Lesnar interference that could help Goldberg get a win, just as Roman interfered to help Lashley get a win?
I think that'd be probably the best scenario for Goldberg to win if Brock Lesnar were to win. If you have Goldberg winning a clean, that'd be terrible. So if you want Goldberg to win, Brock Lesnar is the key to it.
Tones, I'm going to phrase the same question just a little bit differently on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being no chance, 10 being hell yeah, it's happening. Brock Lesnar interferes in that match 1 to 10.
I don't see him interfering really. I put it at about a 3 or 4, a little lower than a 50% chance. I just don't know if Brock Lesnar interfering would do, I mean, I know what they'd be trying to do, but at the end of the day, it would kind of take away, you don't want to break down Goldberg's character or Roman Reigns' character. So if Lesnar wins, it looks like he's trying to help one of them, which I don't think either one of those guys think their characters need help. So I don't think we see it.
No, and if they, I don't think it happens either. But if it does, I'll say really quick. Then at least you could have Roman and Brock fight without the titles because that match don't even need the titles. And then you could have Goldberg put a young guy over and actually win the title. Maybe Drew McIntyre gets his moment back, and then would beat Goldberg at Mania. And then there you go. You have two great matches. But like all of us said, we don't really see it happening. But always possible. Moving on, as we got a few matches left and a few minutes as well. Becky Lynch versus Lita for the Raw Women's title. I think Raw. I'm going to say Becky Lynch, maybe not, but I'm very interested to see Lita's skills. I think she's shown good moves in the ring already in some episodes of Raw. And even if she does lose, which I think she does, that's my prediction, I think this is going to be one of the better matches on the card. Tones agree or disagree with that statement?
To be honest, I kind of disagree a little bit, just because I kind of view it as such as, is Lita really a realistic candidate for winning a type of match like this? And your answer is probably not, because it's, one of those veterans who got copy and pasted into a match. Now, it's an exciting build-up, and it's a cool matchup for sure. I just don't think that Lita has much of a puncher's chance in this one, and neither does the odds books, as Becky Lynch comes in at minus 1,500 and Lita comes in at plus 575. So they think something crazy would need to happen for Lita to win. I do as well. She could perform very well, but at the end of the day, I think the storyline gets a little stalled out after this, because I don't think it's realistic for Lita to beat Becky Lynch at this point in time. It pretty much be comparable to Goldberg beating Roman.
Yeah, and she did have an article at Sports Illustrated where, she said you never know what's going to happen in the future, which means probably she doesn't know yet herself. I'd like to hear those odds, though. That's interesting, just because, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of odds, a little bit of wagers. Cleveland, your thoughts, though, on that match?
Becky, I got Becky coming out, even though, like you mentioned, it'll be curious to see how does Lita still have it in the ring. Because if she still got it, we might see more matches from her. But I just think with Becky being a star that she currently is at the moment, you want all of your best to hold champions walking into Mania. So I got Becky winning this one. But I think this will honestly be a really good match.
Yeah, and as I said, we're taking you to the top of the hour. This pay-per-view is Saturday at noon Eastern, 11 Central. And it's going to be a pretty long one because we got two chamber matches. And quite a handful, 5 other than that. So let's get right into it, boys, before we give our favorite chamber moment and goodbyes. Tones, we're gonna attack them. I'm gonna give you a choice. Would you rather attack both chambers in one answer, or let's spread it out?
Let's just do both in one. Let's
make it easy. I'm gonna name all the people. I'm gonna go last. Tones, you're gonna start, then Cleveland. And we're going to give me the 2 names and why. Men's, Lashley, Lesnar, Rollins, Theory, Riddle, Styles. Women's, Morgan, Ripley, Belair, Doudrop, ASH, and Bliss. Who are your 2 winners and why?
For the men's, I'm going with Brock Lesnar, honestly. And I say that because I think they have really big plans for him, whatever those plans are. He already won the Rumble. Now I see him as perhaps winning the chamber, and I think he's just going to keep winning things. And the end game for the storyline, or for his dominance, or for new character that appeases a lot of fans, I'm not really sure of it, but he's a winner and he's going to continue to win. And I got him at the chamber. I'm not sure again how this comes out. Maybe there could be a crazy amount of storylines coming out of this if Brock wins both the Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber. So I think that Brock Lesnar wins. And as far as a woman goes, I like Bianca Belair. John Cena told her to be patient, wait for your time, and I think her time's coming. And I think that could be as soon as a WrestleMania moment. So I think that Bianca wins this one, although Alexa Bliss's match, I'll tell you what, the superstar that has zero chance of winning is Nikki ASH.
Oh,
Nikki
don't do.
ASH, and
Oh
you know,
boy,
she's terrible.
jeez.
She's gonna get people to turn off the
Oh,
damn pay-per-view, and
oh,
I really hope she's literally in for about 10 seconds.
oh boy. Sadly, I almost can't disagree with you at this point. Cleveland. So we get Brock Lesnar and we get Bianca Belair. Are you going any similar?
I'm going a different route. I'm going Bobby Lashley for the men's, and my reason is he just won the title at the Royal Rumble, and it is not a good look to have multiple. Like we mentioned, the WWE title's been changing hands quite a bit actually, and it's just would like to have some guys to hold it for a
A
while.
little bit of stability.
Yeah, there you go. That I was trying to say the word.
Hey, I got you, brother.
Appreciate it. But Bobby should win it because he wanted that Royal Rumble. Yeah, Roman help and stuff, but I think Bobby deserves a Mania moment. He's had a really great year, and I got a way he'll win. So I think that match will probably main event the show. So I think Roman's gonna cost Brock that match and possibly, build on to their storyline. And then the women's, I got Alexa Bliss. I heard this is I'm pretty sure the new Alexa Bliss is back. No more of the demonic Alexa Bliss. I'm correct.
Potentially correct.
Potentially, okay. So, I mean, if we're being perfectly honest, she is the best one that's in this match. No disrespect to Bianca Belair or Rhea Ripley, but Alexa Bliss, when she was on SmackDown and even on Raw, she was actually one of the best women on there. Just didn't get the recognition like Charlotte and them, but I got Alexa Bliss winning this one.
And see, so far we have 4 different ones. Again, we got Tones with Lesnar and Bianca, and we got Cleve with Bobby and Alexa. And I think all great choices. And I think I'm going to give you 2 different predictions right even here. I'm going with what Tones mentioned earlier as the favorite right now in Seth Rollins. And this is why I think, as Tones alluded to, with Brock winning the Rumble, he's not going to win this back to back. And he doesn't have to. Yes, he has to get pinned, obviously, but there's 5 other guys. A lot could happen to him. I think Seth comes out with this title, and I think you could do him and Bobby. There's so many avenues as we mentioned before, but I think Seth's going to find a way to come out on top. As great as Lashley is, I think Seth Rollins arguably has even had a better year character wise. MVP is a big part of Lashley's success, and I think Lashley is amazing, but I think Seth Rollins has even taken it to another level in his non-title heel role over the last year. Over to the women's guys, I've been so torn for a while. I can tell you right now, sorry, ASH, sorry, Dewdrop. I am not considering you guys for this match. I have been between the other 4, and I've had good reasons for each of them as I've been kind of going through this. And you know what? This might be a little bit of a shocker, but I'm going to give you my reasoning why in a minute. I think Rhea Ripley wins this match. And my reasoning is I think there's going to be a triple threat here. I don't think Becky versus any one of these are going to be what Vince really wants at the top. Now, yes, he is Rousey on the other one. You're going to get a one-on-one with Charlotte there. I think, and most likely in my opinion, I think this is where you get the triple threat with the woman. So I could see, Alexa Bliss coming back in the scene, or, a veteran, a Hall of Famer who hasn't been around, or Bianca Belair. But Rhea, she was very impressive on Monday Night Raw, and the match she was in, she kept making it to the final round and then lost eventually. So she doesn't get to come out last in the chamber, but she put on one hell of a show, as Bianca Belair will be coming out last. But any of those options, I like them all. And there's your chamber. And boy, we've already been at the top of the hour. We gave you the Cody Rhodes news, the Stone Cold news, the damn report presented by Tampa Tones. We gave you our predictions on every single match. You know what, Cleveland? I'll start with you, then go to Tones. Give me a chamber moment and a final thought before we get out of here tonight.
Best chamber moment would have to be SummerSlam, I believe, 2004. Triple H was the world champion. Goldberg was on a hot streak. The ending was terrible. Triple H used the sledgehammer and whatnot. But It was Kevin Nash, a young Randy Orton. Ooh, it was Shawn Michaels also, and Goldberg. I think I said Kevin Nash too, and Triple H. So 6 guys in there. Kevin Nash comes out, power bombs everybody. Goldberg dominates the entire match. Like I said, the ending was crap, but I think that was probably my favorite chamber.
Tones, over to you. Any final thoughts and anything coming up for you, or what's your favorite chamber moment?
Yeah, once again, thanks for having me, Cleve and Me. It's been fun. One of my favorite chamber moments is when the Undertaker actually popped up in the 2013 Elimination Chamber. I believe that was somewhere around then when he popped up from under the ring, I believe, or whatnot. So it was an interesting little pop into the Taker, and he surprised many of people. And the chamber is one of those things where crazy things happen, and a lot of fun matches come of the chamber. And although the chamber keeps getting a little padded every year, it's still one of the best, most fierce things they got is the elimination chamber. And I just want to say enjoy the chamber. It is the last road pit stop to WrestleMania this year. Like we keep saying, usually there's another one, but this year it's just the chamber. So just enjoy that. And thanks for having me. Bucketeers will continue throughout the off season, primarily on Thursdays, but once a week we're going to continue to release content at Bucketeers. And after the lockout, Cracker Jacks Pod should be back as well.
Yeah, and thank you again for the damn reports. I like where our progress is headed there. Be on the lookout for Mr. Simmons' voice sooner than later. I want to applaud you both. This is the first episode where you two have not had your heel moment. It actually came more with Tones and I in a little fun segment. So kudos to both you, not only for being here, but that being as we had a very long show and a lot to talk about, and you both gave a great plethora of information. That being said, one of my favorite chamber moments. Probably, one of not my favorite, but one moment I did like was in 2016 or 17 when Bray Wyatt won his first WWE championship. This was a very big deal at the time. He never had a major title yet. He went in a chamber with champion John Cena. He went in with AJ Styles, and he went in with Dean Ambrose and The Miz, and he ended up with his sister Abigail, and it was awesome. And then at the very end, his poor lights go out from a Randy an RKO, which sets up a future where he lost. But I thought that moment was very big for his career at the time. And not saying it's my favorite, but a good one. Anybody have a last comment before we get out of here, Tones?
Yeah, real quick, I was thinking of the 2010 chamber when Undertaker defended his title, and he wasn't the interferee. He was interfered with by Shawn Michaels to set up a great WrestleMania rivalry. That's what I was thinking of. I knew it had something to do with interference, Undertaker, but it was Shawn Michaels interfering, and I believe Chris Jericho ended up winning that match. I could be wrong there, but kind of irrelevant. But that was a great chamber moment when Shawn Michaels did interfere. And another great chamber was the ECW One Night Stand chamber.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Terrible,
you're a hater.
Oh, here we go.
This guy's a hater. He doesn't know good product. It's a hater. It's sad to see. And like Antonio Brown said, I'm out here. So.
And they ranked that the worst chamber match of all chambers.
Yeah, who ranked that?
That ranked it? Was horrible.
Who ranked it the worst one?
What Culture did?
Who?
What Culture? My wrestling source. They ranked that. Oh, come on. What?
They ranked it.
They ranked it the worst chambers match ever.
Their ranking is about as good as Dave Meltzer's reported. Please,
Bobby won that match, right? He beat an overweight Big Show. That match was so bad.
I literally watched it the other day, and there was a lot of heart. I know me and Ryu enjoyed it.
And we just said the other day that
it was like it had action in there, but it was a horrible match.
We just said that the other day that we wanted to see a big man win the Rumble. Now you're calling the Big Show overweight and come on,
he was fat in that match. Let's be real.
I mean, yeah,
this is terrible.
All right. Well, for that being Tones, he's Cleve. I'm me. God bless.
Always, man.
Good night and thank you all.